man, if you want, like you said, another moment in time, that was such a trip. Like, um, first of all, being on flow for Mind Game when that first happened, because that's where I started, was on the flow team. I think it was like me, maybe Mike Johnson and Richard were the
Mhm.
only three on flow, or maybe there was one other person too. Um,
Wow, flow. That's crazy.
yeah, but and it was
What a
like,
flow
like,
team.
Any of those people
yeah,
to say flow about their names is like, what
Yeah,
the
that
fuck?
is the most insane flow team of all time.
yeah, and Shane would hook it
Yeah.
up. It was so sick, dude. I
Yeah.
can't tell you like how many times I would come home from school and have like the fattest Mind Game package, like just unprompted as well, like uh, just wheels for days, like shirts, everything. Like at the time, obviously, Mind Game was the like still to this day, I don't think there's another company that had that same aura that Mind Game did at the time. So I mean, that was like a trip in itself. Then eventually, yeah, I got moved up to AM, but it wasn't until later on, like well after Brain Fear Gone. Um, but just a quick story about Brain Fear Gone, which is quite funny, which it came up on, I think, when you guys were talking to Ben Schwab um, about the Aaron Feinberg thing, and like no one knowing about it and all this stuff. And the crazy part to me was, at the time I was flow for Mind Game. I was literally there when Shima and John were filming a lot of their parts for that video. I went to the premiere with John and Brian, and I had no fucking idea that Aaron Feinberg was on the team and he had a part in the video. Like, no idea whatsoever. Like, I found out in that theater when everyone else did, and I was looking like, I was sitting next to Shima, and I was like, how did you not tell me about this? Like, what the fuck? Like, obviously you've known for a while. So anyway, like that, yeah, caught me pretty off guard, and I thought I was in the know, and so they held that very close to the chest.
Wow, that's
Um,
super under wraps then. That you were with
yeah,
those guys the whole time filming and didn't even know.
yeah, fully. I mean, it was, yeah, crazy,
If
but
anybody has a secret, be sure to tell Shima
yeah,
or John because they're not going to tell
Oh
anyone.
yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah. For
yeah,
sure. Yeah, that's
yeah. It's not coming out. You'd have to
they're
fucking
not
waterboard them
talkers.
to do
Waterboard
it.
them.
Yeah. Tell me what you know.
but
Yeah, yeah. But then, to be honest, like, yeah, John and Shima hit me up eventually, and we're like, we're thinking about leaving Mind Game to start this wheel company, and mind you, they were the only reasons really I was on Mind Game in the first place. Um, I think it was John that kind of pushed that through to get me on flow and stuff like that. And so part of me, just, there was a sense of loyalty to them. Part of it was a sense of excitement that if John and Brian were leaving to do something, whatever they were doing was going to be pretty heavy, and to be a part of it would be, it could be game changing. So that it was exciting to think about that. And then there was part of it that was like, you want me to leave Mind Game? Like, what? Like, but I'm AM now, and maybe one day I'll be like, so. It was mixed emotions, but at the end of the day, there was no question. It was like, okay, you guys are leaving, you're starting something, you're asking me to come, I'm going with you. Um, and then in terms of the video, initially it was like, we have to film a video right away. Like, that has to be the exclamation point on this company starting, and blah, blah, blah. And, I think we all knew, having left Mind Game, there was something to prove, like there was a reason we left, and this is the vision, and it's different than what Mind Game was, but it's what we want it to be, and it's the fucking best. Like, and that was kind of, I think, what we all had on our minds when we were filming Leading the Blind, was like, this is an opportunity to fuck shit up, like to like change the game. And I know that I didn't feel pressure from that. I felt excited by the chance to be a part of something like that. And yeah, the like pure motivation when filming that was like, nothing was scary. Like I did not.
Hmm.
I don't think like you know what I mean. Like obviously there was stuff that
Yeah.
was scary, but it was like my motivation and drive was like it was like on overdrive, and it was just like this is happening. Like I would look at stuff and just be like, this trick is happening. Like I don't know. It's hard to explain. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I
So I
mean,
mean
it's.
that.
I think a lot of it's. I think a lot of it's because I felt similar feelings, and I think a lot of it's got to be that energy. You know, you got Pat there doing what he was doing, and Brian and the entire team, which was just like monsters, and you just like having to live up to it, and also just like the energy and the excitement of doing something so and new and exciting. Did you know at the time that it was going to be what it was, or because I still regard it as one of, at least in the top three, if not number one, of like the most pivotal. It's up, it's like that is like, and the brain fear gone, and those things. It's like in that. Did you know you guys were going to make something like that at the time?
Um, I think we set out to make something like that. We didn't know if it was going to work or not, but I don't think anyone does when it's happening. You know what I mean? Like, but we had an
Yeah.
idea because there had been moments like that in the past, right? So there was coup d'etat, there was brain fear gone, there was these moments that, like, broke skating in a way. Like it was just like, okay, there's skating, and then there's that. Like what they just did is not skating. Like that's not. And I think that's what we set out to do because of all those things. Like Brain Fear Gone had just kind of happened, and we all left that company. So it was like if we didn't answer back with something on the same level, 4x4 didn't really stand a chance to succeed in our kind of perspective, I guess. So I think we set out to do that, and we wanted that to be what happened. But I, like when you're doing it, I don't think you can understand, like especially the scope that it's turned into, and like the things people still say to me to this day about that video. I don't think we could have understood what we were doing on that level at the time, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It makes sense
No,
because
that.
yeah, the level of skating that you guys were at was insane, like Billy was saying. And those videos too, Leading the Blind and Drip Drop, two of some of the craziest, most epic videos of all time. Completely different style skating to what's popping nowadays, which is like is such a contrast. I actually have a few clips of yours from those videos. I want to know what you had to say about them, or like what like was going through your head for some of them. The first one, I'm gonna start basic with this one. The first one is simple. It's just your fakie 7 at El Toro. So this is like epic, legendary spot. This is your ender in, I think, Leading the Blind.
Yeah, Leading the Blind. Yeah.
And what can you like walk us through this, like to fakie 7, such an epic, set of stairs?
Yeah. So that was kind of right towards the end of filming for that video. So, and I had tried that before. So I had tried it, I think 3 years prior to that. Kind of because I had done San Diego way back in the day, and like I always had it in my head, like I can do that. Like I can fakie 7 a big gap. So like I always wanted to do it again on like another big set. And obviously El Toro was kind of like, it was like a mythical beast in Orange County. It was like if you did something on El Toro, like everyone knew what it was. Like there was that was the thing about that video. There were certain spots we went to, and we wanted to not just one up what had happened there, but we tried to like shut the spot down. It was almost like,
Yeah.
this is a super famous spot. Let's not just
Iconic
one up
stuff.
Yeah, let's go so far that like people don't want to fuck with it anymore. And like
Shut the spot down. That's crazy to say.
Yeah, I'm not trying to sound like cocky about it or whatever. Like that trick was scary as hell. But I thought, look, if I fakie 7 this thing and land it, like it's going to make noise. Like, I don't know. There was like thought process behind that. But, so I tried
But
it
that was
3
also
years
the
earlier.
energy back in the day. You know,
Yeah.
that was also the energy back in the day. So it's like, try to just go. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, 1,000%. You're right, man. I mean, there
Yeah.
was like, not like a battle mentality, but it was like a battle mentality in a way where you're like,
Yeah.
oh, you're going to do that? Well, fuck you. Like, I've got this shit. Like, wait till this video comes out and just see what I did on that spot.
For sure.
And all in good fun too. And I think that was the best part about it all. Like, we were all such good friends back then, but like also jabbing back and forth on spots like that and stuff like that. But it was all kind of in good fun. Like, I never had proper, beef or wanting to like, have personal issues with anyone, but I wanted to get personal on spots. I wanted to hurt people's feelings. Like, I did that trick in that spot. But anyway, so that was kind of the end of the filming. So I was like, I want that to be my ender, and there was another trick. So the full cab backside out of Unity on Bernice, the gap to ledge, that was the same night. So I went first to the gap to ledge, went through kind of a battle with that, and then drove straight from there to El Toro and did that fakie 7. I think that was at like 1:00 in the morning or something like that. Like, I have footage of it. It's funny. I actually did this thing like a few years back. The like rewind things you guys have been doing. I actually filmed one. It's very similar to that, about that experience, about filming the full cab backside of Unity and that trick in the same night and kind of what happened. And I found some footage of me like after that fakie 7, and I'm like, oh, what is it, like 2 a.m. or something like that? Like, anyway, so I just got reminded of that when I was kind of throwing that together.
Wait, you still have that footage, or that footage is out there already?
Yeah, I still have it. I made this little episode thing, and I kind of threw it together, but it wasn't done the way I wanted it to be, so I didn't ever want to release it. I think I showed it to John Julio at one point, but anyway, it kind
You
of
should get that
reminded
and
me.
make a rewind out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the footage, so we'll talk about that after.
I will talk about it later. Okay, we'll talk about it later.
I've got all the stuff, so we could potentially do that. But that was the idea, though. It was like the last week of filming for Leading the Blind, and it was like, I want this to be my ender. And I also wanted that gap to ledge to be close to the end. Like, I just wanted to kind of, like, part of the concept for my part was enders only. Like, it was kind of like I wanted almost every trick in the part to be capable of being an ender. So I was trying to heavily stack the end of the section at the very end of filming, which is what that night was all about.
It looked like every session you guys went to was about filming only enders.
It kind of was, man.
Right.
Me and Sheena would go on like full seek and destroy missions, like by ourselves. Like, a lot of those tricks, like, I filmed with Shima and he filmed with me, like, just on solo sessions. So some of the filming's not great on some of them, but like, we were just out for blood. Like, we were out just by ourselves doing hectic shit. Like, and that kind of was the plan at the time, was enders only kind of thing.
Yeah, and I back in the day, once or twice when Shima had like the S4 and the S4 days, skated with him a few times. He was about work. He was just like what I didn't skate with him. I know you guys were like, thick as thieves, like best friends back then.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but he was just always about the big tricks, the just going to do work. Yeah, so I can see you two together putting in a lot of doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, a lot of hours. I mean, there was a lot of frustrating days too, where you go around for 10 hours and didn't get anything done. But you got it. Those days happen to everyone. So, but there were some days where it was like everything clicked and we got a bunch of stuff, and it was like, man, some of the funnest sessions ever. Like, that was another one of those things where I would take a step back every now and then when I was filming, and I would be like, right, so I'm filming Brian Shima by myself for a video of a company we're starting that we just left Mind Game for, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on here? Like, how did I end up in this moment? So I think I did do a pretty good job throughout my whole career, kind of taking a step back in moments like that and being like, "Holy shit, this is cool!" Like, and not trying to take any of it kind of for granted. So, and that was 100% one of those moments.
It's also like humbling hearing you say shit like that. Also, along the lines of the
sure.
whole B Bell story, like you're a real fucking guy. If anyone who didn't know that, Chris is a real fucking guy. He has feelings too, man. I have one more clip from the 4x4 days that we need some background on, and this is we went for the ender in your last section. Now this is the opener in your second section.
Okay.
So this is
just this.
yeah, just this, just the biggest gap that anyone's
I
ever
love
attempted.
I love how you start this line. By the way,
Yeah, that's part of it too. Like it's not just you go
love
for this
that.
gap. You do it one of the hardest tricks ever on a down rail, and then you just charge the biggest 180 ever attempted ever. So you need to walk us through. Is like what the hell is going on in your head during this time?
Yeah,
that's like falling off a Harley right there.
yeah. Yeah, so a couple of things. The first trick I can explain. It'll make more sense to you after I tell you why I did that. But
I hope so.
Yeah, that trick in general was, like I was always like one to try to jump the biggest gaps I could find. But one day we were skating at school. There's a couple other pretty famous spots at that school, and we were there, and I saw the bottom double set, and it was like, oh, you could just, gap over the rail. That was like one of the popular things to do at that point in time, just find a drop rail and jump over it. I'm not sure why, but we definitely did that quite often. Then I was standing at the top of that set, and in the corner of my eye, I saw the little 4 stair off to the left. And I was like, I just looked at it from the side, and I was like, holy shit, you could jump over this whole thing. And I went up there and looked at it, and I started like doing all sorts of calculations, like went down to the bottom and like stood there and was like, how tall actually is it? And like, if I'm going fast enough, maybe I can land, and whatever. I don't know why I thought it was possible, but the trick beforehand. So I used to have this thing that I would do, like just in general, before I would do a big trick, I would do another trick before it. And usually it was like an easy trick, but it was just like, if I do the easy trick and it feels perfect, that's like my signal that everything's good to go. Like I would true mizu a ledge and come out forward, but it was like, what it feels like when you do that perfectly. You like lock on, you kind of pop out, whatever. It's like you land and you're like, okay, it's go time. And it was like a mental trigger. Yeah, it's like a mental trigger. So the mental trigger here was twofold. It was one, if I do this trick and it feels right, it's go time. But two, it has to be a trick so hard that I don't want to do it again, because once I've done it, that will then get me to jump the gap. Like, you know what I mean? It was like if I hesitate and don't jump, that means I have to do another 360 top mistrial, which like I knew how to do pretty well at the time, but I was like, I don't want to do that again. So if I do a good one, I'll actually try to jump the gap. So it was kind of like a 2-part mental trigger for me to actually try it.
That's so insane too, and because you did the gap more than once, I think, right? So you had to do it anyway.
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah, it was 2 different days, because the first time I tried it, I just basically blew out, like my feet went straight underneath me. I basically landed on my knees and just slid, and I bruised both my knees pretty bad, and whatever. But I was like, I got to come back for it. So I went back and tried it 2 more times on the same day. And the first one, I think, is the clip in the video, and that was the closest I came to landing it, where I really got my feet underneath me, but then just kind of popped up and then kind of rolled over. And then the second time that day, I think I had stretched my cores a bit, and that's the crash from kind of the middle of the profile where I jump it and basically just come to a dead stop, because like my back wheels basically, to me, it felt like they just landed in sand or something, and I just like back slapped. So I tried it 3 times total, and none of them ended that well.
But out of all things you would try it, and you try it in a jersey, that thing. Oh
Well,
man, you definitely paid the price for that.
Was it
yeah, it was
the Jordan jersey? I didn't notice.
Yeah,
A long sleeve fleece, a long sleeve like any long sleeve, might have been good. A thermal, I'm just
You're right. You're right. You're not
I'm just
wrong.
kidding. I'm just kidding. It would have looked as cool.
No, but that was the reason I did that, though. That was like a whole, there was a whole backstory to that, too, which was earlier that year, I had made that bet with Kato about winning the 4 contests back to back. There was 4 big comps back to back from like September to October or whatever. And we made a bet that I could win he made a bet that I couldn't win all 4 of them wearing a Jordan jersey and the gold helmet. And then I ended up winning all 4. And then that was going to be like, okay, I did that. I won those comps in that jersey. And then I landed my ender for the 4x4 video in it. And then I was going to retire the jersey. And that was kind of the thought concept there. But it never made it to retirement because the last part of that didn't come to fruition.